information is so good, it requires no expiration date. The Robert Scott Bell Show.
He's back, my favorite, Whey Protein. And, of course, the person that brings it to us all here. From One World Whey, it's Stephen Hewer. Thank you, my friend, for helping us get up to the Autism One conference. We got lots of cool stuff to talk about today.
Yeah, we do. I'm really excited to share what I've learned over the last year with client feedback and results with kids that have been damaged from vaccines, so I look forward to sharing that.
Well, this is a special opportunity, and I appreciate you sending some things along, so when you come by and see me at Autism One today through the Sunday that we'll be heading back home, I'll have some things as long as they last. We even have some samples out. We'll get to that, but the point is here. Let's say we've got families, we've got parents coming up, and they're all looking for options for healing their children, helping the gut to recover, helping to detoxify the heavy metals, looking for sources of nutrition that are clean. And we have so much of that on the show, but one special aspect of the recovery that we don't want overlooked is the utilization of these undenatured whey protein products, particularly what we do in the One World Whey. So what have you found? I know you've heard things, but there's even science to support the help, for instance, for removing the heavy metals that these kids are all laden with.
Yeah, we have found that we have a woman that's contacted us. Her name's Angie Borden, who has two children, both 4-year-olds, twins, boy and a girl, that were both vaccine damaged. And the boy suffered the neurological damage. The girl didn't suffer neurological damage. She suffered digestive damage. Well, the boy was both digestively and neurologically damaged. He wasn't speaking normally. He had constipation. And the daughter, 4-year-old girl, was experiencing constipation, alternating constipation, diarrhea, and inability to grow. Her hair was falling out. She was a depressed, unhappy girl. So the mother found this product. She gets both of her kids on it. And over the course of only 2.5 months, I believe it was, might have been longer, but I've got the testimonial on my site so people can go there and they can hear it from her personally, the mother. She records that her daughter took this whey protein, and she took another supplement as well, but she attributes the majority of the daughter's success to the whey. And her alternating diarrhea and constipation went away within a couple of months. Her hair stopped falling out, and she became a happy demeanor, playful child again. The boy was experiencing constipation went away for him as well, and he began to experience the ability to speak normally for the first time. I mean, it's 4 years old. Mm-hmm. His mother said he's speaking normally to me for his age for the first time, and he's made his first friend. So this kind of testimonial evidence is indicatively supported. It supports the fact that we are raising glutathione successfully with a truly non-denatured whey protein from grass-fed cows. And I have lots of other case histories which are not autistic people, but they're just mercury or they're heavy metal poisoned in some way, shape, or form, and the stuff's coming out, and they've got all the symptoms to show that. And they're also in the testimonial section of our website. But what I want these mothers and fathers to be aware of is that really in my 21 years of doing what I do as a nutritional consultant and a student of this subject is that I've never seen anything which is so effective at supporting the intestinal tract health and supporting whole body detoxification and the liver's ability to handle it all with a food that the child will both, one, love the flavor of and enjoy looking forward to consuming, and two, benefit from the physical effects of. And this is why One World Whey is such a sensational thing, because it has such high appeal to a child who wants something that tastes good, because typically kids are very finicky, very picky, and they don't want to swallow pills. So we've bypassed all of those tendencies for not getting the child to want to consume it by making something that's very palatable, tastes great, and the results are speaking for themselves in the level of improved health. And not only that, but the child is growing, so they're supporting their physical muscular growth in a way that they can't get from any other food, because there's a benefit occurring from whey protein to build muscles that surpasses any other protein source. I tell the parents to look at this also as, a third of the protein expense of the food expense of the diet can be eliminated. So whatever other protein sources they may be having their children eat, they can probably reduce it by a third or more by having the whey protein in the diet.
Stephen,
yeah.
This is an interesting thing that you bring up. We always talk about economics, trying to do things efficiently, affordably as well, and recognizing that we do need a lot of things, not just one thing. But if we talk about bioavailable, let's say digestible forms of protein, many times these autistic children, as we recognize, have gastrointestinal distress, disruption, alternating diarrhea, constipation, inflammation. And so we recognize as well that the digestion, the breaking down of complex animal proteins can be difficult for those in digestive distress. And here, we talk about eating cleaner foods all the time. But here is a brilliant way, because as far as I understand, the digestibility of an undenatured whey protein like this from a clean source, much easier on the body. So all of the benefits of the protein that we want the kids to have will actually go much further.
Exactly. And the body won't have to deal with the denatured proteins that occur from cooking, and there's always a negative response to inflamed intestinal tract tissues where they're going to go, ooh, this is irritating us, to deal with a denatured protein. We don't have the enzymes to break it down. It's not even usable once we do. So there's naturally going to be an inflammatory response to a cooked protein that they're going to bypass and avoid by having the whey protein in the diet. Plus, like you said, if it's non-denatured, then basically it's up to 100% efficient utilization compared to other proteins where you're only getting 10, 15, 20, 30% of the amino acids from that protein source, and the rest is proving to be a burden to your eliminatory organs just to deal with getting rid of it.
Right.
So there's all that benefit. And yes, when you address, also when I was reading up on glutathione in the past, I learned that the intestinal lining is supposed to produce is supposed to be one of the areas of the body where the highest production of glutathione is supposed to occur.
Yes.
And now you're supporting that process so that your intestinal lining can get rid of its inflammation, get rid of the mercury that may be in there, get rid of whatever damage maybe have done to it, and thus regain the ability to produce those enzymes along the intestinal lining, get rid of the yeast that may be growing in there. And once you restore that, just like in that book, Gut and Psychology Syndrome, the GAPS diet, Natasha McBride, I believe, it basically says the gut is a central area of healing necessary for regaining normal mental, neurological function. Well, this is the best food I know of to address that, and we've had nothing but outstanding results for both young and old on it.
Well, I'm glad you confirmed that. Now, when you're talking about shifting some of the expense to the complex animal proteins that are very expensive and maybe inefficiently used, certain types, of course, as we described, are you talking about a gram-for-gram shift? I mean, how would you equate it for people if they're trying to kind of measure out how much is appropriate for my child?
Well, they're going to get 25 grams of protein per 30-gram scoop, and that they could just correlate to what they're currently doing with what other protein sources. That's going to be more efficiently utilized, so that typically just experientially, they don't have any gram weights that could actually be given because everybody's digestive capacity varies.
Sure.
But people typically will tell us, well, yeah, my need for other protein sources or food sources has declined dramatically. People tell me that they don't need the flesh proteins in the quantities that they used to before. I have a guy his personal spiritual path has led him to get off of flesh proteins, but he's an O blood type and needs protein in his diet. He said, since I've introduced the whey protein with my raw milk, I'm so satiated and so satisfied that it's easy now. I don't need fish protein or flesh proteins of any kind, and I'm doing great.
Wow. Look, I love the thought there, because we do have a lot of listeners that are vegetarian and may consider if their health is not where they want it to be. And I've always said this very practically about it. We're not here to convert you to one diet or another, although I want you to be on the cleanest diet. Whatever that diet is clean, right? We go organic, local, all of these things. But the reality is, if you find that you're not doing optimally well on the diet that you think you should be on, to integrate this is very simple. And as we said, for a child, very simple, very tasty. My kids love it as well. And we utilize, colostrum, and we utilize the One World Whey. All of these things are so essential to our kids, which thank God are healthy, that we didn't subject them to the damaging impact of a lot of the medicines and vaccines. But we're dedicated to get all of the information out for those in need. Particularly, that's why we're going to Autism One today. And I'll be there, and thank you to Stephen for sending up a lot of information. We've got some sample packets we'll be able to give away. It's first come, first serve over the next few days at Autism One for that. But very simple to do for kids. You don't need to give them a whole jar at once. Just it lasts a long time, and it is cost effective when you look at what people are spending right now on different foods that may or may not be optimal for these kids.
Yes. Boy, if you could replace this for the kids might want the peanut butter or some other protein source that's just totally denatured and not optimal for their bodies, and they give them this instead, and we were seeing such quick results too. It's just so consistent. Like I said, with those two kids, 2 months, 2.5 months down the road, they've already improved so much that their symptoms of vaccine damage have gone away to a large extent or completely. And And that's true for the adults too. So
yeah,
it's a unique food, and I want people to consider it more of a food than a supplement, because they should consider it a part of their natural grocery expense, because it does so much to improve quality of life that you can't find anywhere else that I've ever looked, and I've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah. Listen, can you stick around for another segment? I'd like to really get further into the glutathione metal detox aspect of this for kids.
Yeah.
Okay, Stephen Hewer is on with me. We're about to wrap up the show here, heading into Autism One, very exciting event. And, of course, oneworldwhey.com. We've got the links up at robertscottbell.com in the show notes. We'll give out a toll-free number after the break, those of you who want more information if you can't attend the Chicago or Lombard, Illinois event. So stand by. Lots more healing and metal detoxification to go.
The Robert Scott Bell Show. Taking on bureaucrats and corporations that would stand in the way of health freedom. Here's Robert.
We're almost there. It's almost time officially for the Autism One conference to begin. It's probably already begun as I'm on my way there after the show, but we're looking forward to seeing you there. As I said, I'm going to have a lot of my support sponsors in tow. King Bio is going to be supporting us. Immune Tree is going to be there. Sovereign Silver is going to be helping out. And, of course, I'm really excited to bring the One World Whey out to the autistic community, or the community of children damaged by vaccines and autism, because I want this nutrition out there. I want the rebuilding to occur. And, of course, Stephen Hewer, my good friend, the metal detoxification to be supported, a critical aspect of what glutathione production is all about and how we can support it with the whey protein.
Yeah, a lot of people have been using different whey proteins that are the high-end version, the grass-fed, cold filtered processed versions, and not getting these kinds of results. So I am bringing up the subject again for all the people who are listening to this show and the mothers and fathers trying to find an answer for their kids, that there's a dramatic difference in the effects you will get on our One World Whey that you cannot get on any other grass-fed whey protein, simply because they are all pasteurized. They will say cold filtered processed, but unfortunately they're using marketing to sort of maybe not lay out the complete picture. The complete picture is the milk was first pasteurized before they filtered the whey. The whey, when it was filtered, they didn't add any heat to that step, so they call it cold filtered whey. But prior to that, it was pasteurized at high temperatures, which denatures and damages the amino acids, and thus renders complete. It takes away and subtracts from the effectiveness of producing glutathione to such a degree that you just don't see these kinds of results or hear these kinds of case histories that we're experiencing with a truly non-denatured product. And what is that magic thing? Well, that magic thing is when you take a whey protein from grass-fed cows into your body's now got a complete protein source that's going to stabilize your blood sugar. Once your blood sugar is stabilized, the cysteine, the sulfur amino acid that's very rich naturally occurring in the whey protein, is going to now be utilized by the cells of your body to be able to go into the cells and combine with two other amino acids, glutamic acid and glycine, and then in the presence of metabolic enzymes that are fueled by selenium, to be able to make this tripeptide called glutathione that then ends up doing these magical things of being able to remove the chemicals, heavy metals, whatever it is, from the cells and or neutralize free radicals and get rid of the inflammation. That whole process is so efficiently and elegantly and effectively accomplished from a truly grass-fed, non-denatured whey protein that you cannot and never have been able to get those kinds of results with pure cysteine and acetylcysteine or a pasteurized whey protein ever. So I'm really excited to introduce mothers and fathers and anyone to this understanding, because whether you're a vaccine-damaged child trying to recover, or whether you're exposed to radiation from Fukushima fallout, you've got all these different concerns for which you need to protect yourself, and this is a food that delivers it in a way that nothing else can. And so I just keep encouraging people to give this food a try and put it into their lives. And the other thing is when Angie commented about her two kids that were getting results with improving their own health after being vaccine damaged on the way, she says, my kids are so in love with this product that you could offer them a present or a birthday cake and they would pass on that and prefer the One World Whey drink over it. That's how much it tastes so good to them.
Embrace the taste as well, which is very cool. Now, one of the things, I mean, you just rant, how do we say, your rants are so great because they're born of the passion of really helping people. That's why, if you don't know, if you've never heard Stephen Hewer on, we've been friends for a long time, done a lot of radio over the years, and he's a guy that's got the integrity to bring out the real products that I can rely upon, that I utilize myself. So that's why I just want you to know, especially for all our new listeners and those that will be meeting in Autism One. Well, what you said, I think, I don't want it to be glossed over too quickly. You described the marketing tricks that are out there with a lot of the whey protein that you have to be very concerned about, because they'll say, as you said, cold filtered, right? But the fact of the matter is they're using pasteurized milk products and then ignoring that aspect of production, saying, oh, we took the milk that we got and we just filtered off the whey at that point with no heat. Well, whoop-de-frickin-do if you've already got pasteurized milk.
I know.
That's what I wanted to make sure people understand.
It's the most deceptive. It's the most unholy. It's just so disappointing to just, for the health food industry to be doing this kind of marketing when we're trying to get the health food industry to be, beacons of light and integrity, and they're not. They're just doing this whole thing to lead people to believe this lie that's just not real. And I was very disappointed when I found all this out, but it made me realize, well, that's why all my efforts to benefit personally from taking away protein failed. I always was like, wow, this is just upsetting my digestion. I'm not benefiting at all.
Right.
And then I took this one and I went, wow, this is totally different. What is the difference? And I had to do all my homework, and I found out all the things I found out. And all the whey proteins that say cold processed have removed the word filtered. So what they do is they first pasteurize the milk at either 145 degrees for 30 minutes or 161 degrees for 15 to 20 seconds. One of those two methods of pasteurization is what they do. Then after they pasteurize the milk and after it's cooled down, they then remove the whey from the milk, so the casing's taken out, the whey is left over. Then they have to filter out the fat and the lactose through different methods. And if they've done it with heat or chemicals, that's damaged it further. We don't use any heat or chemicals, so we protect it in that way. But those companies that are doing this filter where they don't add any heat, they claim that this portion where they're filtering the whey to remove this lactose and to remove the fat, and they're not adding any heat to that filtration step, that therefore it's somehow miraculously good for people, is a total deception, because it was, again, damaged extensively, and all those molecules, all those amino acids became, a percentage of them became bent and twisted, which your body, it's just like the bricklayer. I tell people this analogy all the time. If you have a bricklayer, given a pallet of bricks, and those are rectangular, the proper shape of the brick is a rectangle that's to build a wall, and that 30% of the bricks are the correct shape and 70% are bent and twisted, then the bricklayer has to work extensively hard to sift through the pallet of bricks to find the 30% bricks he can build the wall with. All around the work site, builds up all of these bent bricks that he can't use, and puts all this work on his body to try and keep the site cleaned up or whatever. The same thing with the body. If your amino acids become bent and twisted through heat, which is what happens, your body has to spend all this time sifting through the damaged protein to find what it can use, and then all the unusable bent and twisted amino acids, the liver and kidneys have to spend all this energy filtering out, which the body falls behind on. It creates inflammation, acidification, and all the diseases of aging. So I tell people, you want to get healthy, protein is your number one food to cause your body to be, you're 75 trillion cells, you're constantly making billions of cells every day, constantly making enzymes every day, which are protein structures, and therefore the number one requirement of the body is to be in a positive nitrogen balance of using amino acids that it can actually use to repair tissue. If you do that, you've just addressed a huge picture or a huge part of being healthy every day.
Yeah, and those of you who don't know Stephen, he's had to overcome tremendous health obstacles. So when he has something that's a wow factor, we talk about it and it's for real. We find out what works. That's the thing about, me, our little old RSB here, why I do what I do, because I had such ill health in aspects of my life in the first 24 years, not met by modern medicine successfully. In fact, modern medicine caused many of those problems. So undoing it via nutrition and all the things we do here is very, very critical. And of course, those of you who are going to be with me at Autism One, or those listening around the world who have children within the autistic spectrum, and it isn't exclusive and only to that, but one of the other things that Stephen mentioned is very important. You may have all have heard of this precursor for glutathione called N-acetylcysteine, NAC, they often say. And to see that the food form can, of course, not surprising to us here because we always promote food as medicine, can actually be more efficient in helping your body to produce the glutathione is something that I also wanted you to emphasize again, because you just ripped through this stuff so fast, Steve. I'm like, whoa, hold on for dear life.
Yeah, so the N-acetylcysteine would be the isolated singular amino acid version of trying to use pure encapsulated supplements to achieve this raising of glutathione in the body, which has therapeutic success. And
sure.
If it was all that was out there, by all means use it. But it's not all that's out there. We're getting much more clinical results than I've ever seen happen with N-acetylcysteine. I mean, very exciting. And again, I say this because one of the factors I know scientifically this is true is that if your bloodstream is not in a positive nitrogen balance, then if you introduce any amino acids into the bloodstream, without a positive nitrogen balance, then the body will automatically want or positive nitrogen balance and also positive normal blood sugar picture. If your blood sugar is at all low, that's what I should say more accurate, but the positive nitrogen balance is kind of involved in this.
Yes.
So if your blood sugar is at all low, then the amino acids introduced into the circulation, the body's going to go, okay, first priority is glucose for the brain. We're going to deaminate, which is to say remove the nitrogen from this amino acid, and we're going to turn it into glucose. And we don't want that. We want that cysteine to be used to make glutathione. So that means that, see, amino acids, when you introduce them into the bloodstream, when they're a complete one, a full spectrum one, the 10 essential or whatever you want to call it, 8 or 10 essential, then that's going to activate the liver or the pancreas to produce glucagon. Glucagon is going to cause the release of the breakdown of glycogen, which is a slow-release muscle sugar. So once the bloodstream becomes positive in its glucose needs and you're not deficient in a low blood sugar state, then those amino acids are going to be used to synthesize proteins in the cells as opposed to be converted into glucose to meet the first priorities of the brain, which is glucose. So that's why I say this protein equation is so important, and why the whey protein surpasses N-acetylcysteine is because you've got a complete protein with all 20 amino acids, the 10 essential plus the other 12 or 10, and that surpasses being able to create this positive nitrogen balance and positive optimal blood sugar level effect that just taking a single amino acid cannot do.
All that, and it tastes good too.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm looking forward because we're going to have some packets up there at Autism One. We're almost there. And, of course, Stephen Hewer, oneworldwhey.com. Give out the toll-free number for those of us around North America that would like to call in, ask you a question, maybe get some directly.
All right, it's 888-988-3325. I'll repeat that. 888-988-3325. We're open 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, East Coast time. If you call us after hours, it'll go to voicemail, and we will call you back the next day.
Stephen, thank you so much for your support. We really appreciate you here, and my family really adores you as well, all the wonderful things you brought to us, and you're going to bring to the autism community at Autism One. So come on down Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, May 23rd through 27th, Lombard, Chicago, Illinois. I'll be there. Stephen will be there in spirit, but we'll have some of the One World Whey for those of you who'd like to try it as well. Thanks again, Stephen.
Thank you, Robert, for having me on. Thank you very much.
I want to say a special thanks to, of course, Liam Sheffer, his drive-by appearance this hour. Always a fun time. Also, Dr. Anthony Kleinsmith, Dr. K. In addition to the One World Whey here, we have the colostrum, the immune tree colostrum. Man, oh man, do we have some healing foods on the show. And we bring them to you every day, and thank those that are supporting us here for this message of health, freedom, and liberty. Come on down to Autism One. We got it. We're here. We're there. We're all over the place. Why? Because the power to heal is yours.
The Robert Scott Bell Show.